Testing. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, testing. How are you all doing? Please let me know, because I've moved things all about the place. The Bone Brew, how you doing? Let me know if the audio is okay. Because I've changed stuff. We've got a whole new setup. We're getting content ready. We've got so much room. It's all good. Beautiful. All right. Welcome back, everyone. Great to have you. Now, we've got a little announcement. My January workshop, Grey Matter Live. The seats are available to the public right now. They were already available to my mailing list, but they're available right now. Okay, little plug up front. Okay, little plug up front. Got to do it. And also, I've done some updates to the landing page as well. So join me on a 2-minute, or not even 2 minute. And it's also 10% off. I don't think I've ever done a discount. 10% off until December 31st. All right. So if you want to hop on it, the seats are already filling. So hop in there. You're going to learn all about painting light and value from imagination. And this is essentially what I wish I had when I was learning this stuff, right? So we're going to hit all the key parts. So at the end of it, you'll be essentially self-sufficient, right? That's what I want. I don't want you to be relying on watching tutorials or that kind of stuff. It's like, all right, let's learn how to be self-sufficient and sort of reverse engineer our own work. So just taking you through a quick little thing. Live lessons each week, 5 weeks long. Okay. After each lesson, you're going to get very in-depth assignments. Okay. For multiple skill levels as well. So it ranges from beginner all the way up to advanced. You'll get personal critiques from me recorded so you can keep them forever. There'll also be group critiques as well, because oftentimes I found for the first workshop that I did a couple of months back that there were some consistent things throughout everyone's assignments. So I thought it was sort of valuable to share that as a group, but everyone in the workshop tiers will get that one-on-one personal touch. Oh, audio could be bumped a tad. Thank you very much. Let me just... I don't think I can bump it any more tads. I'm not sure if I can. I'll just speak into the mic a little bit more. All right. So links in the description. We're focusing on value and grayscale, right? Lighting in particular. What is light and how it works and all that kind of stuff. If you do have questions about color and you do join the course, the workshop, more than happy to go back and forth on you with it. It's just not the focus, because I wish personally, when I was learning this stuff, that I took like more focus on the values and understanding what light is, instead of trying to do it all at once with color and materials and it was a lot. So this is basically what I wish I would have done when I started. You get the brush pack. You can also, as a public person outside of the workshop, you can get the full brush pack as well. I've made that available for everyone. There's also 2 time zones, right? So we've got the European time zone. So that was a big thing last year. A couple of months back. We had some people that were there until like 1 a.m., 2 a.m. That's ridiculous. So now we've got European time zone and American time zones. You can choose that one there. And then we got 3 seat options, right? So you got the sit-in seat. We got the workshop seat. Sit-in, you get to join the live recordings. You get to join the live sessions. You get the live recordings. And that's about it. So it's sort of like no participation. You just want to roll on your own, hop in, be a little observer. Nothing wrong with that. The workshop seat, you get everything. So you get the Zoom access, workshop replays, weekly assignments, group critiques. As we mentioned before, you get to join the private Discord community, as do the sit-in seats. And one thing for both the workshop and the one-on-one seat. The one-on-one seat is everything in the workshop, but you get 3 1-hour calls with me to really nail some stuff down. And that could be for your art in particular. It could be talking about social media, business, whatever you feel like you get value from. Completely up to you. And for the workshop and one-on-one seats, you will get the early access to the unreleased on-demand course, which is not just a recording of the live sessions. It's built from the ground up. I'm building it currently from the ground up, so you can be the first to have access to that. All right, enough of that. Plugs over. You get it. Links in the description. Okay. You know the deal. Let's get to what we're here for, right? Okay. So I've got to remember where I'm looking as well. Let's get back to the regular situation. Beautiful. Just a Toast, how you doing? What's that? So that was just a little plug for the workshop coming up in January. 10% off until December 31st. Links in the description. Go on my website. You're smart people. You know where to find it. Okay. So let's have a look. Where is my chat now? The Bone Brew looks like it's going to be awesome. Audio could be bumped. Yep, hopefully this is a little bit louder. And will this be on be on Gumroad later? I don't think so. I haven't got a plan for that person. Like just being honest. Annalie Draws, how you doing? Now I know this course is a steal in terms of price, but being broke is real. Yeah, Bone Brew. That's why I'm doing this stuff. You know, I'm always going to be putting out the free stuff, sharing what I'm learning, regardless. So we can just cruise in. Hi, just saw your live with Proco. Love your work. Alvin, appreciate you. Thank you so much. I've been super interested in the sit-in seat, although would that tier not include the weekly assignments or any exercises? You get access to the assignments, you just don't get the feedback. That's the only thing. So are you Anurag? So you can see the assignment sheets. You just won't get any feedback from myself. No worries. All right. So I've already started to do a bit of sketching on this one. Okay. Let me just make sure. Where is my here? Yeah, we need to change the camera angle. I think we're not going to do it right now, but just for future reference. Come on, get in there, OBS, you scumbag. There we go. All right. So we can see, I think everything's centered. Everyone's good. All right. So this was done just, I don't know, 20 minutes before the live. I wanted to get a head start on something, you know. Abu Baker Artist, how you doing? So we've got this reference up here. I'll whack the link in the description. I'll pin that bad boy. Boom. There you go. All right. So I just wanted to play around with stylization. Okay. We're going to do a bit of value on this one, I think, as well. So that's why I wanted a bit of a head start. I'm also drawing specifically backgrounds. It's difficult, but I'm getting better. Buddy, fantastic to hear. That's what it's all about. Okay. So, what are we doing here? What am I thinking about? English Shadrick, how are we? Great to have you. So the main things that I was focusing on, or am focusing on, with this one, right? So I started off with this very rough sort of sketch here. Something that was just a bit bit loosey-goosey, knowing that I'm going to go on top of it and make it a little bit nicer. All right, but all the while, I'm thinking, let's get a different color, because I've been sketchbooking like a madman. Every night before bed, I've been doing some figure studies, traditional, okay, both mannequinization and just straight up figure, gesture, all that stuff. So I'm way deep into this way of thinking at the moment. Where are you live besides Instagram? I'm also live on YouTube right now. So if you want to better experience the wider, more cinematic experience, come and join us on YouTube. Not on Twitch today. Twitch has been playing up with, technologically speaking, mind you, it's a skill issue, but I'm also live on YouTube right now. Okay, so what I'm talking about is what's in front and what's behind, right? So we can imagine, right, this head is in front of most of these things, okay? Because one of the issues that I have had in the past and still do, right, is wanting to draw more than what would be seen based on foreshortening. For example, something that I could have done wrong is actually make the neck way too long down here, right? Because I want to show, because I'm used to doing that. I'm used to sort of drawing the neck here, and then that clavicle would have been all the way down there, right? It would look a bit funky. All right, should be feeling a little bit more giraffe-esque, shall we say? So this is something that I've been working on traditionally as well, where it's like you can't hide your mistakes. All right, so we've got to think through. This is where that drawing through is very, very useful, right? And then I've been thinking about, because when I would do mannequins, like for the chest, for example, I'm like trying on different ways of sketching, right? So I used to just do this little guy, which is fine. But when I'm studying now, I'm trying to like try on people's like shortcuts, you know, hop into their shoes and give it a whirl in a different way. So what I've been doing, from a simplification of the torso, or let's just say the rib cage, is this kind of thing. So understanding, let's just do it from scratch, right? So there's like a tilt where the neck is going to be. That's where I'm starting, and I'm still trying to see how this fits into my workflow as well. So this is very much a work in progress. This is my study thoughts, let's call it. Okay. So it's a lot more blocky, which I like personally. All right, you got the end of the rib cage. Then you've got the ribs sort of coming down here. And this is what I've been playing around with. Right, it's a little bit more structural, because then you can come through, add in the pelvis, right? And you can start to build on top of that. I don't know, it just feels a little bit more structural for my liking at the moment. I mean, I could change by next week if I'm honest. As I said, I'm right bang in the middle of study town. Right, but this is a little loosey-goosey for me, just like the circle. But I might eventually transition into like a hybrid between these two as I do more study, if that makes sense. Ozan Kilinkesemez 2851, how you doing? Yeah, I think there's a Wait, are you still learning anatomy? Always. Always. Even though if I like understand it, I'm trying to find more efficient ways, better ways, you know? What I did is I kind of took stock of what I didn't like about my anatomy, right? Or at least my beginning stages, because I would have just done this, and then I would have just done this, and sort of just called it a day kind of thing, which is fine. Nothing wrong with it. But I just wanted to start thinking a little bit more structural, even just as a challenge, you know? What I was saying before, right? Foreshortening. Particularly with this clavicle, this helps out. Because the clavicle doesn't go straight. Okay? It's not just going to be like boom, boom. It's going to be more so back at a bit of an angle. So because I've got this front plane, this kind of side plane thing going on here, that tracks towards the clavicle in that way. So then I can think about that. I might not be drawing all this either when I'm doing these kinds of sketches, so keep that in mind. Right, but the clavicle does move as well, so we've got to keep that into account. No one ever stops learning anatomy. True. Even at proficient level, it's that one thing you have to keep revisiting. True. True. 100% agree. And it's fun. You know, you're like trying on different ways of learning. Right. This is really a follow-on from my mate Rembert Montold. Just seeing how he does stuff. Getting really inspired from a figure drawing perspective. Right, so now we understand we've got the clavicle here. We've got some stuff happening down here with the arm, which is going to be going straight through. Rembert is insane in more ways than one. We're Banjo. I love that fella. He's so funny. I mean, I love learning anatomy, but hate drawing characters. Oh, that's all right. Nothing. Yeah, you do you. You don't like drawing characters, don't draw characters. That's all good. Masihajavadi. Butchered it. My apologies. Your brush smoothing adjustment is high. Yeah, it is. It is. It's like a default for this brush. Speaking of, you can get it. Linked in the description. It's free as well. So, like this whole brush pack. Apart from the liner. This liner, I'm still working on. It's a tricky one. Right? And it's like, it's got a pretty okay feeling. But there's some things that I don't like about it. Right? Wanted it to feel a little bit more traditional. Got some legs. Got the torso. Boom. Head. Right, so anyway, where were we? Back to the flat flowy. All right. So here, I really do want to think just structurally. Like boom, boom. All right. Although I've done all this like stylization and all this fun stuff, right? Made everything chunky, made the hands massive. Right? I still want to think what's actually happening in 3D space. All right, same thing here. This is going to be a cylinder. Uh-oh. Okay, let's go. Cylinder, 3D space. Right. Block. Big old cube, essentially. Or just like a big blocky thing. Right. Now let's see if we can use... This is what I was kind of doing over here. Walking through my new way of thinking about the torso. Right, so this is going to wrap back around this way. Even stylized, right? This is the thing. You can take courses and stuff from anyone. Take what you want. Take what makes sense. Leave the rest and then whack your own style on it, you know? That's what it's all about. Alright, so this is what I was trying to do here. A little bit of this. You know? What is happening? We got the clavicle. Boom, boom, boom. There, there. Rib cage, rib cage. We don't have similar art styles, but I love watching you draw and soaking you. I appreciate it in English. English Shadrick. No, thanks for popping in. For real, he is great, by the way. K-Pop Demon Hunters Concept Digital Art Book just dropped. In case you want to give it a look, it's so freaking cool. Wed Banjo, thank you very much for the tip. I shall definitely look at that. Would you say your original Gumroad is the best for mannequin construction, or is this something else you'll be working on for other courses? Yeah, the Bone Brew, if I'm honest, that I'm going to sunset that course eventually, right? It's like, it was really a test walkthrough. I wouldn't even call it a course. I mean, it's called a walkthrough, right? I'm in the middle, in the thick of building a lot more robust content. That'll be a lot. I mean, it's still good. Don't get me wrong. Like, and it's got great reviews. People seem to love it. Fantastic. I've got some good stuff coming. Put it that way. The way the woman in the reference holds the spear feels kind of wrong. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's almost like she's never held it before. You know? So I want to like change it. What is it you're trying to do right now? I'm just trying to like get a little bit of a warm up going. See if I can find these shapes. Then what I want to do is come through and see if we can paint some value on her. Right? Figure out a light source and see if we can get something cool happen. All right. So I'm just playing with the figure right now. It's 3:31 a.m. in here, so I usually can't catch your streams, but while I'm at it, I love the rendering part of your artwork. Thank you so much. So I tried your brushes, but I still couldn't get that feeling. Yeah, look, it's not going to come overnight, you know? The brushes are but a tool. They are just a tool. And not going to give you the skills, you know. It takes practice. Takes a lot of practice. All right. Oh man, did I just? Oh, I'm on all different layers here. Yeah, let's merge these ones down and just be like, all right, this is our figuring out layer. It's 1:38 a.m. You guys are bloody crazy. You need to get some sleep. But I do appreciate you being here. Prabad Diramadan 1753 watching this on my way to school. Morning, Ben. Good morning. How you doing? Hi from Romania. Welcome. Man, we've got everyone here today. So yeah, for those that are new, this is the regular time. This is the weekly stream. I am thinking, right, for this year coming up, I think I mentioned it last stream, to do a separate figure stream where we actually like do timed studies. This is kind of my like do whatever I want stream, essentially. All right, and you guys can just tune in, enjoy, join along if you want. If not, you do you know. But I'm thinking about having more focused streams where it's like, all right, figure, then yeah, just starting off one at a time, because I have a tendency to jump right into big ideas and then get overwhelmed, and then I don't stick with it. So one at a time. Right, so I'm really just trying to understand what's happening here. This is getting a little bit too messy for my liking, so I'm just gonna knock it back, maybe even knock this back, and even if we take that away, it still reads as like a three-dimensional thing, right? So we're doing something okay, but let's clean it up and get some clarity. Also, quick tip, one little thing I learned from Rembo. I knew it, but it's a good little reminder. Just whacking the floor plane or the ground plane in when you're doing some figure stuff helps a ton, you know. Time zones are weird. Yeah, tell me about it. They're a pain in the ass. May F 7026, how you doing? This is adventure time. That's right. You never know what you're gonna get. Okay, so let's even do different colors. There's also something aesthetic I like about the process of figuring this out. I almost like the look of these mannequins when they're done correctly, just as much as like the final. There's just something nice about it. I don't know. I've always liked the aesthetic of that. So we've got there. I love whacking a little ear on the side just for direction. Now, just like I scaled up her hands, I've scaled up her head a little bit as well. All right, as well as her feet, because they kind of scaled together. It'd look a little bit odd if her hands were massive, her head was tiny, and her feet were tiny as well. It's kind of, it all works in unison, right? I want to figure out how to go from traditional sketches to prints and what a good workflow for that would be. Digital to print seems so much easier these days. Yeah, digital to print does. What you got to do is get yourself a good scanner though if you're going traditional. I haven't done traditional prints before. But yeah, what it is just like a very good scanner. And there, I think you might be it depends where you are. You could go to places to do it for you as well, just to get the high quality scan, and they give you the file. And then you could clean it up in Photoshop or your program of choice. This mess in your sketch process is wonderful. What do you think about using grey color for the background? Do you think it could be useful to understand and recognize better anatomy? My name is Masi. Masi, great question. At the moment, grey in the background doesn't really help me. The thing that would help me grey in the background is when we start doing some values, right? As soon as we start doing values, I do like to have not just a stark white background, where you'll also see a lot of like traditional painters, oil painters, they'll knock that white canvas away with a wash. Oftentimes your burnt umber. Right, so this is study, right? This isn't just like making pretty things, which is fun as well. This is study. Right here, it's not always pretty. But as I said, there's something about the aesthetic of this I like. I don't know why. In here, what I was talking about with the clavicles, they go back in space. You did take your analog gouache painting and put it into print, didn't you, Ben? No. No, that gouache, that was the one that I added to one of the orders earlier this year. That was the original. Oh no, sorry. What are you talking about? Are you talking about like the physical, like putting it in? So I did study from my gouache and I did a digital version of that for study purposes. But I get like, I think it was the Hellboy you might be talking about. I think, yeah, it was the Hellboy that I added to one of the orders. There's like a little Willy Wonka's golden ticket sort of deal. You play guitar as well? I do. She's hunting a mammoth. Not a bad idea. There is Hampton, Riley, and Loomis all in one head sketch. Jesus, that's the thing, right? I love Hampton. I love the Riley method's great, and Loomis, fantastic. Pick and choose whatever you want, you know? I do love how Hampton does his heads, though. He's a lovely fella as well. I've had the opportunity to talk with him. Even helped him get his Shopify store get all set up. I've also actually, now we've got some room here. Let me show you. Uno momento, por favor. Let me get this. I do have an original Steve Hampton. Oh, where's the camera? Bam. How beautiful. So this is the plan. All back here. So this is going to be like the YouTube setup as well. So we're getting ready for Content City, okay? All back here is going to be all set up like prints, artwork, all in the background. This bad boy's going up there. All right. So we're going to start a little collection. Reminds me of Mark Schultz type Xenozoic vibe. This almost, this gives me, what's his face? Hey, what's his face? Oh, shit, what's his... The dude with the ladies and the tigers and... The dude with the ladies and the tigers, you know who I'm talking about. Bollywood? No. The other guy, the ladies and the tigers. And they're like, she's like holding them. And she's half nude. Comic book. Frazetta. There you go. Boom. Yeah, this gives me Frazetta vibes. Have you tried doing figure study on gouache? I will be. I'll be doing a lot more traditional this year. Or next year. Hamster's heads make so much sense from a shorthand perspective. Yeah, I agree. But it's definitely something I think you need to have a pretty solid understanding of gesture and rhythms to nail. Yeah, I agree and disagree. Because it's more structural than gestural. In my opinion, it feels to me, or how I use it, it's more structural. Particularly for the eye sockets. Right? It allows me to be like, okay, there's structure here, and it's less on the gestural side. You can get more gestural, because you got Houston's way of doing it as well is just like straight triangle town, and he does this kind of deal, right? Which is even more of a shorthand. Which you can do, like, you can grab a little bit of this, a little bit of that, mix it into this thing, right? Which is its own, you know, you can just, this is why I study. I don't know, you gotta love it. Gotta have fun with it, because there's so many possibilities. Right, we can kind of imagine the clavicle. I think it's a little bit too far away. These guys here and here. That's what it is. Fine. Doesn't matter. It is what it is. Can you draw from imagination? I can. Hey, did you ever settle on the animal to human character prompt challenge for the Discord? Yeah. I haven't landed on that just yet. I'll announce it when it's ready. Because I reckon that'll be good fun. Alright, I'll just do a quick little shorthand for this. Alright, make sure that we've got our three-dimensional forms happening. Alright, and this is a tricky part here, okay? We want to make sure that this foot is truly sort of sitting correctly. Boom, boom. Same as here. So this is coming towards us. All right, this is going boom, boom, back here. And then this, I can think of this almost as like a little, like a boxy kind of deal. Another box behind there. And then this guy. Toe. Lots of toes. And then the little toe. There you go. Do the old flip, make sure it's feeling okay. Yep, let's do the arm quickly. Still, this is coming towards us. Right, I would like to figure out the fingers a little bit more. We'll do that on the line work. The line work layer. I'm also ignoring that she's got really long nails because I feel like that wouldn't be practical for this character that we're doing. Have you ever experimented with the Asari head type stuff? I'm not sure how I would utilize it. Yeah, I'm looking at one right now. It's one of those things, again, studying. Like actually spending the time giving it a shot and not just being like, it doesn't make sense to me. You know what I mean? Because there's a reason why it's so popular. Right? Even back in the day, like why it was so popular, because it helps a ton. The Asari head for me, though, is more of a value and light kind of deal. Right? More for painting and understanding the forms. If that makes sense. Oh, I see. I was mixing them. That's who I was thinking of. Houston, not Hampton. That does the really gesture heavy. Yeah. No, that makes sense. That makes sense. What character is this? I'm not sure yet. Just a random one. By the way, since you mentioned Hellboy, seems like a character tailor-made for your style. Maybe we can have a stream dedicated to him. Doesn't sound like a bad idea. Can you tell me what your shorthand is for following connection points, elbows, knees, ankles, wrists? Okay. Probably not all of them because that'll take a little while, but while I'm here, this is where the hybrid of anatomy and figure and simplified forms comes in really, really handy, right? Because we know, let's say this is like level 1, or not even level 1. Let's say, all right, I'm just going to speak, and if it doesn't make sense, just know that I haven't thought about it too much for an explanation standpoint. So bear with me. So let's say level 1 is the gesture, okay? So let's do, I don't know, gesture purple. So we've got the gesture of this hand there, right? Is doing something like that. Actually, let's get some clarity here, shall we? Also, this is how I think about it. Probably not how a lot of people think about it. Take and leave, whatever you want, right? So say we got the gesture. I can see this kind of deal. So this is, what is happening here? Get out of it. All right. So this is like the gesture to begin with. Not a whole lot of structure, a little bit of structure, but nothing crazy, right? Next would be me thinking more in terms of a bit of structure. All right, so I want to make sure that I've got this finger connected then to the palm. Right, this finger here, this finger coming down here, then you've got the palm. It's a little bit more structural, let's say, and then we've got this sort of 3D simplified shape of the elbow. Simplified, right? But this is where a little bit of anatomy comes in very, very handy. So if we can then go, so this is, say this is like step 2 is the more structural. Step 1 was the gesture. Step 2 is the more structural. And it's not linear. It's not like I'll do step 1, step 2, step 3, and it's just like, awesome, and then we finish the drawing. No, I'll like go from step 1 to step 2 to step 3, back to step 2, back to step 1, go back to step 4. You know what I mean? For me, it's not super linear, but let's say I know that on this side of the wrist right here, you can see it on my wrist. That's the ulna, right? It's a little, tiny little bone, right? One of 2 in the arm, and that connects directly to that elbow. Right, so now we can start building some of the muscle and everything around that understanding of the anatomy while keeping in mind all of this structure. Okay, so this is going to come down. This is our landmark. Right, there's going to be another muscle here. Right, so this is where you would start to get a little bit of that nuance, a little bit of the less structural, still structural, but more anatomy centric. And then you can decide what you want to do with it, how far you want to go with the anatomy, right? Because there's going to be like a muscle here that's going to bump out there, back to the elbow. Right? Hopefully that makes sense. Just as like an idea. You got the knuckles. All right, got this knuckle here, that knuckle here. Right. So that's kind of what I'm thinking. What's the big idea? Have you ever tried animation? Very, very briefly. I want to do more of it though. I actually want to experiment a lot more with storyboarding in particular. All right, so let's go back to our sketch, see if this can be cleaned up a little bit and prep for some values. Biz the Cookie High from Brazil. What program do you use to make this? This is in Photoshop. Do you have a productions that you have worked on, likely any shows, games, or anything? Any stories, so to speak? Nothing I can talk about right now. I have, but I can't talk about them. That's the fun of NDAs, right? So I moved this down a tad from the reference, right? And we can go whoop, whoop, whoop. So then we got the spear. We can make it more stylized, a little bit more like that if we want. And then this, we can make it a little bit more dimensional. Maybe even got a little tassel down here or something, just to show that direction. Do we have a reference there, or are you making this whole project subjective? No, we do have a reference, but unfortunately it's not showing on Instagram. It's on YouTube. I've got the reference up. All right, so from a landmark standpoint, you are looking for the ulna to attach to your elbow. Yep. How big is the animation scene down under? I don't know, if I'm honest. I'm really disconnected from a lot of what's happening in Australia, if I'm honest. Which is something I want to change. I feel like I know more about what's going on in America than Australia. Hi from Serbia. Do you have any tips for achieving character likeness when stylizing? I do. A quick tip with that is focus on the relationship between the features just as much as the features themselves. Because you can get someone's eye that's looking like just like their eye. But if it's not in context of everything else that's going around, like the nose and the sockets and that kind of thing, it doesn't really matter. And that's where you get stuck in that kind of no man's land, which is no fun. But yeah, hopefully that makes sense. Is there like a DreamWorks, Pixar, or Illumination equivalent studio there locally? Probably. I wouldn't know the name. As I've said, I'm very uncultured. It's not been a focus of mine to apply for any of those places. Doesn't mean I'm not open to it, but it's just not been a focus over the last few years. So honestly, yeah, as I said, I'm very, very uncultured when it comes to the scene in Australia. All right, I'm going to do one more quick pass. Line work wise, clean up some of this. There's a lot of no man's land stuff going on here. Then we're going to start playing around with some values and see what we can do, right? Miro, Max Grucky is one of your favorite artists. Yeah, true. His stuff's great. I see that you have a lot of his style mixed with your own ideas. 100%. 100%. The thigh wedges the calf. Is there a connection from ankle to knee that you're looking at? It is similar to the ulnar and the elbow. Is there a connection from the ankle to the knee? Let's talk about it when I get there. All right, so I'm just going to simplify the head, the eyes. Right, and as I knock it back and go again and again and again, right, it's going to get more and more refined. Also want to make her a little bit more, not angry, but just like less like, ooh, you know? You know what I'm saying. Less posy. Yeah, you knock back 4 or 5 times in a piece. Yeah, sometimes I just roll with it, and it sort of it is what it is. There's nothing wrong with knocking it back. I do also like doing these like little socket eye things. It gives me an opportunity to show just a little bit of depth where there might not be as much. So now I'm thinking about the depth of the hair, right? Now she's not going to have perfectly groomed hair like this lady, right? So I want to do a few more of these like flyaway dealios. Right, so this is going to be in front and then going back. Don't want the eraser. Get out of here. That's what I'm after. this. And this is a big part of why you want to think about things in 3 dimensions. This is why the mannequin makes sense, right? Because if we were to think about here with the mannequin, the hair could then rest on that shoulder. And where we start to not rely on the reference as much, at least, if you know what I'm saying. If you are picking up what I'm putting down. All right, indication of the clavicle. There and there. I might also want some hair down here, depending on how long her hair is. Might want to add a little bit of that style to the shoulders. Less round, more, I don't know, sharp in a way, which is going to say a little bit more about a character. I remember Patrick Brown's art style. All of you Australian artists are creative, but your style, yeah, I do like to exaggerate. But yeah, Patrick Brown's sick. I've been following that guy since high school. I remember seeing his Grand Theft Auto pieces. Oh. Which, again, I'll mention, I think I mentioned this a few times on stream, but I'm going to see, although it's going to be like this time next year when bloody Grand Theft Auto comes out, but I want to do like in-game plein air painting. I reckon that'd be so fun. I could even try it with the, with like Grand Theft Auto 5 as like a test. Because the fidelity of the graphics are just that good that you can just do that, you know? Also, while we're here, shout out to the lurkers, the non-chatters. Hope you're doing well. I met a bunch of you at Lightbox. I know that some of you are just popping in here and drawing along. I hope you're doing well. I know I'm a lurker as well. I don't really comment on too much myself, so. So let's think about how these fingers are gonna, doesn't have to be perfect. I just want to make sure that they're feeling. Justin, art teacher, what's going on? All right, we've got something happening with the hand. It's looking a little bit more hand-like. And see how I've kind of exaggerated this shape here? It's not, I'm not following the reference. I'm using it literally as a reference. It's not the beginning and end of everything that I'm laying down. Which is nice, you know? It's freedom. Finn Rooney. I'll have to check him out. Doesn't ring a bell off the top, but I'm terrible with names of artists. If I've seen their work, I would know who you're talking about. All right, now we can do that sort of shorthand that we were talking about. Thinking about this ulnar. Right, coming straight down there, but then there's going to be a muscle here. So we could bump that out. Now we also have to be careful of some tangents. Thomas Diodati. I can't remember if I just said hello. If not, I don't know if I said it in my head or out loud. How you doing from Argentina? Have you ever heard of that the artist English Shadrick? I don't know. He seems pretty phenomenal. Vivid Fox. Anyone else getting some studies done while listening? I bought too many graphic studio packs. Oh, nice one. Nice. Hope the study is going well. All right, so let's think here. So this is going backwards. So I would like a little indication of that rib cage, maybe even just for myself, just to be like, okay, how is this actually gonna lay on top of everything? Weird banjo I've been hearing lately about tangents from Bucci as well. Shout out Bucci. Lovely fella. Artwork. Mwah. Tangents. So, for example, if I'm trying to indicate, so we've got the deltoid here, right? There's a lot of stuff happening here. If I, for example, felt that the armpit, let's say, was about there. It's not, but let's say it was, right? And then I followed that through into this finger. That gets very confusing. You know, so that's like a tangent that you don't want. Tangents aren't bad. I don't think it's like a rule that you got to like follow 100%. You can do tangents if you want, but it's just clarity is more so what you should be thinking about. It's a way to avoid unclear marks, if that makes any sense whatsoever. Just Junior Jayal. How you doing? Welcome. Fat Cappy, welcome back, my friend. Cheers, mate. I heard Alliance. Wait, here we go. I know there's going to be a pun here. Let's go. I heard a lance with no blade becomes useless. I heard a lance with no blade becomes useless. No, you retracted it. Do we have to rethink that one, maybe? I said it accidentally. Oh, man. All right, we're waiting. Okay, so those that were on Instagram, I've reached my hour cap, apparently, which is stupid. But it is what it is. Graphic images kind of thrive on tangents, no? I don't know, if I'm honest. I'm not one to follow just rules for the sake of following rules. I want the what I want is to understand the principles behind said rule. You know, why do people say don't or try to avoid tangents? Well, it's because they can produce, not always, they can produce unclear images. That's it. So I'm focusing more on that versus like, oh, how many tangents do I have in here? You know, it's not something I'm really too focused on, if that makes any sense at all. Lances without blades become useless. They just become pointless. Not that good. It's okay. It's alright. I would remove the second become. So about lances without blades become useless. They're just pointless. Maybe? I don't know. But welcome, Fat Cappy. I appreciate the effort. I hope I get points for the effort. Now, you missed an opportunity there. There's something there with the points. The points, I hope I get points for it. There's something there. Hearing it said out loud is making me laugh hard. Now this foreshortening is tricky. Appreciate it, Lazy. How you doing? Great to have you. Jokes about dull lances aren't funny since they're just pointless. Good. Now we've got a bit of context. I like it, Fat Cappy. Beautiful. See, you notice how unsure I am here because of how scratchy the lines are. So let's fix this up. Let's get some confidence, hey? Thicker line. Boom. There. Whack it out. Whack it in. Boom. Although that should be quite a bit larger there. I appreciate it, Lazy. Yeah, going well, going well. Penna 2NPD, how you doing from Brazil? Brazil. Now there's some funkiness going on here. Not in a good way. Simplification. Boom, straight down. No, boom, boom. All right, let's balance it out. We got the ankle. English Shadrick, I've been working on a splash for a few days, and when you mentioned you had been streaming for an hour, I just tripped because that felt like nothing in comparison to how much time I've spent on it. Yeah, man. But you're working on a splash page, right? So it's like, that takes a long time. I mean, I'll take days on something. So this is just there's like stream artwork that I'll do. And then there's like longer stuff. What am I trying to do here? Let's think. Toe. Boom. Toes, little toe. That'll do for the time being. Almost a bit too big in comparison. Or this guy has to be a little bit larger. Simplification pen. Simple. Boom, boom. Here, boom. Maybe that's the ticket. Just straight down, indication of the knee. Something like that, maybe. Yeah, we can work with it. We can roll with it. It is what it is. Now let's quickly whack in this guy. I want to start whacking some value on this lady. See what we can do, right? Came here because of the algorithm. Thank you, algorithm, and welcome. Oh, Vivid, you're too kind. Sorry, so the bone bruise. So here from the ankle to the knee, same deal. Not quite the same deal. Similar. The outside ankle bone, right, is going to be sitting lower than the inside, right? And then that can follow up to the side of the knee. That's one of those little tricks. Well, it's not a trick, it's what it is, right? Because it's the, I can't remember the name of the bone. It like sits in here and then connects in that way. And that's how you get this sort of bulge behind there, right? Hopefully that makes sense. All right. Here. Whoop, whoop. Back. Maybe this can actually be a little bit shorter, potentially. Cool. Okay. What I might do is see how we've gone from here. Sketch a little bit more refined, right? Nothing crazy, but just a little bit more refined to help us. Now what I'm going to do, I could just use the filthy plugin, couldn't I? Let's start blocking in some of the hair. Now it's going to be a little bit of a looser render. We're not going to go full blown, let's spend 20 hours on this thing. Might be a little bit more on the stylized. Way of doing some values, you know, but nothing wrong with that. No worries, Bone Brew. Orkin, you legend. How you doing, my friend? Hope you're well. Alright, so now we're really designing some of these shapes. I'm feeling like maybe her forehead's a tad too large. So we really maybe want to bring it down just a smidge. Boom, boom. There. Get a little bit looser with it. Have some of these flyaway hairs because she is hunting something. And I don't think she's got to be too concerned about. No, it looks like there's a bloody sprout on her head. Hold on. Okay. Cool. Got some context there with the hair. I've noticed that the calf bulge can sometimes be seen on the other side depending on which way the leg is rotated. True. Does it normally favor the outside or the inside of the leg? Again, it depends on the calf, or like where you're looking at it. Like if I'm looking at, let's imagine the knee bone. All right. I'm just going to simplify the connection into the foot here. Then you've got the ankle. Right. So the calf is going to be more bulgy outy on this side versus this side typically. Right. If we're just kind of like looking front on, it's going to be, that's like the gesture, I guess you could say. You could be like outside a little bit more, inside just a little bit less. You got the knee and all that kind of stuff, right? So that's outside, typically higher, let's say. Not necessarily more, but like higher. So there's this kind of angle to it, if that makes sense. All right, let's color her in. Let's just add some, like a flat gray, shall we? Boom, boom, boom. Could have encapsulated the spear, but I don't know. Maybe separate that out is fine. How's that silhouette looking? could play around with it more, but we're not going to today. We're just going to keep rolling. Gaspar Films, greetings from Chile. Nice to have you. Welcome. Instead of drawing one big confident line, is it more like lightly sketching over it multiple times to build up the shape? You can do multiple different ways. Different artists will do it differently. Some artists will just like nail the line and just be like, boom, done. Others will really like find the line with multiple light sketches as well. So it's really doing a lot of experimentation for yourself. That's going to be the best bet. There is no right or wrong way. And I like weaving in and out of different ways of doing things. Experimenting like we did, if you look earlier on in the stream. I was saying something similar, but with figure drawing. Trying on different styles, different ways of thinking. Not even just different styles, different ways of thinking. And giving it a go. Alright, so this might be a good time to knock down the background just a tad. Just for a bit of context. Then we can play around with some local values. Now what I really do want to, I've got to make a note, or just do it, not even make a note. This year I really want to do some oils. I reckon that'll be so much fun. Really make an effort. Because this year, a lot of my time has been taken up with making that the course platform. Which is not bad. It just is what it is, you know? So 2026 is going to be Content City. We're doing all sorts of stuff. Alright, I want the focal point to be up here. Wed Banjo, would you recommend using Photoshop for drawing? And why? If so, I normally use Critter because I do some animation, but I wonder if Photoshop has other easier tools when it comes to drawing. Whatever is the most comfortable for you is the thing that you should work in. Try Photoshop out, you know. What I like about it might be something that you don't like about it, you know. I like it because I've got the filthy Photoshop plugin that I made, but I mean, I'm biased, right? There's something off about the face right now, but we can fix that later on. So now let's make a decision. Where is the light going to be coming from? Also, I want to make sure I fill in a lot of this hair that's coming down there. Look a little bit more natural. Orkin, hold on. I'm learning how to draw lines right now, so there are many times when I'm not sure how I should be doing it. Just know that there's no right and wrong way, and I'd recommend keep experimenting. How are you, Ben? Oop, hold on. I hope everything's going well. I've missed your streams lately. But, all good, man. No, I've been doing well. Doing well. Sam, hey. Biz question. Have you ever run Pinterest ads? I see your stuff so often. They're uploaded by a third party, and I think it would go gangbusters. Very, very interesting. Interesting comment there. Yeah, I've never run, like everything I've done has always been organic. I've talked to a few people that have run ads where it didn't work out fantastic, but that could have been the creative wasn't up to par. You know what I mean? Like it would definitely be an experiment. Because yeah, I see my stuff on there all the time. I'm like, wait, it's kind of cool though. Like I'm surprised when I see some of my stuff up there. Because yeah, I do not upload it. It is very much other people. But no, good question, man. I've never tried it. Not opposed to it though. Tyler, what's going on? Great to have you. What's on today's agenda? Just having a bit of fun, man. Playing around. You go from darks to lights when working, not lights to dark. I sometimes do both. So again, there's no like correct or incorrect way of doing it. But yeah. I experiment with both. I enjoy experimenting with all kinds of different ways because you see other people do it different ways and there's no like invalid way of doing any of this stuff. What I would like to figure out right now is like, okay, what's that light source? Where are we focusing our attention? So we want to have like a nice little drop shadow here, which could be nice. Let's figure it out. There's also something about her eyes that I don't like. So if we were to do that, yeah, I reckon I like that. Make this a drop shadow on the face. So now we're getting some context. Now we're making decisions about, let's add another multiply layer. Now we are making decisions about that light direction. And that's going to carry through with everything else. So we've got to sort of design the shapes a little bit more, thinking about them. And then we've got to keep the context throughout. So there's a light source somewhere around here shining on top of her. So all of this is going to be in shadow. Potentially this is going to sort of wrap around. Maybe she's got too big of a chin, maybe. I don't know. Something I'm not liking about it, but that's okay. I think it's usually easier to establish darker values first and then start adding light on your way. Yeah, I tend to agree, like as just a general rule. Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, vivid. I think you're right. It is from more the traditional way of doing things. But yeah, you're right. Watercolor has to go from light to dark, so it's like you can do whatever. Remby, how are you, my boy? Also, shout out Rembert. He's got a sketching workshop available right now. If you go on Proco, highly recommend it. I've been lucky enough to have a look at some of the content on there, and ooh la la, it's a good time. Back at you, my friend. My little Belgian waffle. Alright. Have you got any pen stabilization? No, but if you want a free tool to give you pen stabilization, particularly if you're on Mac, there is this thing called Hage Stylus, right? So it's you can do it for free, right? If you do want to use the Filthy plugin and then get a bit of stabilization with your strokes, it is pretty nice. Whoop, hold on. So if you really want some good control, I do sometimes use this. So then it's like you get the best of all the worlds. Yeah, HEJ Stylus, I think. Rembrandt sketches are like Mona Lisas. This is true. Markers are also another pigment that has to go from light to dark. You can't lighten up a marker stroke. Very true. Very true. Wed Banjo. No, hold on. Where are we? Sam, I find stylized eyes really tricky. I feel like you have to push them really deliberately to avoid them looking like poorly drawn realistic eyes. Dude, few truer words have been said. It's a lot of it has to do, I think personally, to do with the structure of how they sit into the eye sockets. Right? Because we've set this up here. We've set all the eye sockets incorrectly. So they kind of fit. Fit more naturally, you know? But again, it's kind of... Zoomed in looks okay. Zoomed out doesn't look quite right. So we need to fix that, but we will. Ben, do you have any advice on how to make the figure appear to be grounded on its feet? Yes, a little trick from Remby. I mentioned it earlier. Doing this little plane at the bottom is going to help ground whatever you're painting. Is going to help ground it, right? He's watching Remby's live. I think we make an appearance on that. Is that the same one? Thanks, dude. That's what I was thinking about, Remby. The gesture. Gesture first. But yeah, as I said, yeah, I'm not bullshitting you. I'm actually looking through Rembrandt's content, and it has been helping me out a ton. Yeah, I think that's the one. Yeah, you shoot nerfs to Rembrandt. Yeah, that's right. Ah, man, I miss it. I miss it. Can't wait till next year. I was flabbergasted. It was funny. Stan was just like, should we just go in there and shoot him? And it's like, yeah, why not? It is what you get to put up with at the Proc office, but also what you get to put up with at the Proc office. I like how not how it's non-serious, but it's just like, it's fun. You know? They're a good group of people that enjoy a laugh. I remember the first time I got there last year. And first thing, within the first like half hour, it was like we was in a Nerf war. I just got off the plane, met everyone for the first time, and then we ended up just getting into a skirmish. Ben also destroyed Stan's dragon. Let's not talk about that dragon. Oh, there's a nice little opportunity here for that. Ooh la la. Just a little highlight with the furled brow. Nice. Is she walking out into the moonlight? Is that the vibe you're going for? If I'm honest, I'm not. I'm just trying to make it look cool. I wasn't even thinking about moonlight, sunlight. Maybe she is. That could be a cool little story. So yes, there you go. She is walking out into moonlight. I've been collecting Nerf guns for years in anticipation for my future children. By the time my son was born, I had 3 pistol, 2 shotguns, 4 rifles, and 1 really long sniper rifle. Perfect. That's great. And the bone brew, that's the story I'm getting with the prelim. Like, yep, cool. That works well. But now what I'm thinking is more so, it's a little blotchy, but we can, so this right here is going to be the lightest part. Same deal here. Clavicles are going to pick up on that. Even in that pit of the neck, because we've got to think about the planes. That's going to pick up something there as well. See how it's starting to sculpt a little bit. Yeah, the chin's too big. Chin's too big. Let's see if we can fix that. Maybe. I don't know. No, we'll just keep rolling. Keep rolling. We can always fix it. Because there's a point where I'm going to merge everything down. And it's going to be a lot easier to fix than trying to adjust stuff right now. So let's just keep rolling. Thinking about our values. That light source is coming from the top left here. Now this is shiny because the noses typically have more oil content. So it's going to be a little more shiny. The eye is going to be super shiny here, so we can make it super shiny. So the reason why this can look shiny and nice and somewhat realistic is because we've set up everything around it. You know, without our understanding of the light source, it wouldn't really read too well, if that makes sense. We could even, depends how realistic we want to go. Actually, no, hold that thought. All of this is going to be really dark. All back in here. Now, Do we want to make her feel a little bit more tired because she's in the middle of a hunt? Maybe she's been going for days. Right, now I'm thinking about planes. This top lip is a nice little plane. Right, and now this plane of the lip is going to be a different local value, but it's going to be lighter than this one, if that makes sense. This rendering reminds me of Peter Moorbaker's process. Have you ever tried his method? His brushes have just 10 to 20% opacity. He builds it up over several strokes. It gives you a lot of control. I've been doing that recently. I don't know who you're talking about, if I'm honest, but I've been doing that a lot recently, where I will just go here, particularly with the full off soft or the big soft round or the big old softy. And then you could just really knock it back and get subtle changes, which is great. Really good call. It's good. Ben, what influenced your decisions in designing shapes the most? Is it from doodling or your conscious thinking of a concept philosophy for designing them? Good question. If I'm honest, it's really just the artists that I've followed, that I like, that I've learned from, and I've tried it out. You know, I've tried out the shapes. Do I like how they make the shoulders a little bit more pointy, the deltoid, you know? Tried it out on a bunch of doodles, bunch of sketches, and then I kind of, all right, I've saved that into my workflow. I like the look of that. And the same with every kind of shape that I'm putting in here. I do like, particularly like from a shape perspective, I like putting edges on things, if that makes any sense at all, right? So instead of doing like say if there was a more curved object, right? I might want to put an edge to it, you know, sharpen it up just a tad, right? You can see that everywhere. So this nose isn't a circle. It's got a little bit of edge. Even the lip, it's not a perfectly rounded thing. It's got just that point. There's like an edge to it. But yeah, hopefully that makes sense. I don't know if I got a little bit rambly there. But thank you for the question, Remby. I think you could even push this in a fantasy direction, give it pointy ears and pointy teeth. You could do that really subtly here as well. I could just come in and go, boom, now she's a vampire. Kind of. Or she's lost a tooth. One of the two. But also what I'm thinking about here is this. This is everything. That is what's allowing me to make these decisions, is the understanding of form. I'm not just laying shadow in here, right? That's where I used to get tripped up a lot. I'm thinking about the topology without sounding scary. Also, do you guys know that Nomad Sculpt is on desktop now? I found that out yesterday. So I'm definitely going to be playing around with that for sure. Master studies of your favorite artists is a good way to imprint their shapes into your own art, 100%. But it's got to be a study, I think, as well. Master copies, fantastic. Master studies, really like, I mean, for me, it's line decker. I love line decker stuff. Always have. But you even see line decker, he'll like do little call outs, for example. Like as he's trying to figure out, like say for the nose, he'll do like another sketch here and try it out in different ways, in different rendering styles, you know? Like, it's not just like one whole copy and then done. I'd recommend if you're trying to learn from sort of masters, take bits and pieces. Give yourself sort of bite-sized chunks alongside the whole composition as well, if that makes sense. I still have to draw in topology lines for some shapes to visualize the rendering beforehand. Still working on that visual library. Vivid Fox, me too. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's not a sign of lack of skill. You know, I will get lost, for lack of a better word, and then I've got to go through and say, okay, what's actually happening here, particularly for stylized stuff, right? Because I'm not copying the reference. I've got to really understand, particularly in here and on the side of the head. I can get lost pretty easily, right? Sheldon, how you doing? No, I don't like that. All right, so particularly the sockets. All right, we really want to make sure that that's making sense. Right, because they're sort of wrapping around back in here. So what we can do to make that feel like it's really being knocked back, just being a little bit more subtle with our transitions, adding a darker value in here. Right, to really push that out. Do I want to? Yeah, I kind of want to just like merge everything. Kind of just want to merge everything because it's going to be easier to adjust, you know? Let's merge it. Let's do it. Group it, copy it, merge it. Now we're all on one. So now we can use our smudgy boy to get some of these transitions feeling a little bit smoother. Just slightly, we don't want to overdo it because then it can feel a little bit too airbrushy. So this hair is probably going to cast at least a tiny bit of like that occlusion shadow in there. So that sort of like sits it in there correctly. Vela, I know I tend to struggle with finding that center line sometimes. That's cool. But I think that comes from building intuition for it, seeing it enough times on real people. Yeah, I agree. It's just like with anything, right? It takes some time. All of this stuff takes time. There are no shortcuts. No quick little fixes that are just going to be like, yep, that's now all my problems are solved. Now, following that same logic. Aha, now we can fix the chin. Or even the mouth. Maybe. It looks a little bit overbitey. Which we can fix that just with potentially a little bit of the bottom teeth showing. So we're just tweaking and changing. Then I'm going to use the power of the lasso combined with the multiplier to really whack in some of that occlusion. Which is just going to help it pop a little bit more. But the thing is we've got to keep in mind what the light is actually doing. So a real nice little tip for understanding light is when something becomes, or when something gets hit by a light source, it becomes a light source itself. Right? So where's an example of that? So for example here, all of this is getting hit by a light source. Right, all the face, the cheek here, right, that might be a little bit brighter in value. So what's going to happen there is there's going to be some bounce light that's going to come back up underneath that brow, which is going to help sell it even more as like a three-dimensional object. I'm reading the Alla Prima 2 book at the moment. The chapter on edge is fantastic. Edges are very, very important. Any suggestions for chopping up work for an IP? I want to start doing a world building project akin to Matt Rhodes' Dead Gods. If you have not seen his stuff, Ben, do yourself a favor and check him out. I shall. Chopping up work for an IP. If I'm honest, I'm not sure. I don't have anything off the top of my head. I'd just be talking shit if I just started whipping out ideas for it. I might have to ask you at some point. Hi Ben, I have a question. If the university teachers aren't very advanced but the atelier instructors are amazing, should I still go to the university just for the degree and networking? I never went to art school, so I don't know. I'm not super confident with giving advice in that respects. One thing I do know, and something that a lot of let's say like you can see a lot of these US specific just things online to say, oh, art school is a waste of time, blah, 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 right? But what they don't take into account is a lot of the jobs are in the US, and with a degree, I believe it is a lot easier to get a visa. So that's something to take into account. I don't know where you're from, so just as a Just something from another angle. I've got no skin in the game either way. I'm not looking to go to art school, nor am I selling on behalf of an art school. It's just more of an objective look at the whole thing. What I'd recommend, whatever route that you do go down, you've got to do the work on your own time. Because regardless, even me, any of your teachers, whatever, they're going to give you feedback. They're going to give you the guidance, but you got to do the work. You got to find your own inspirations. You got to find different ways to study. You know what I mean? It's only one small part of the whole process in reality, right? And you'll notice the people in art school that like progress crazy fast. It's because they're doing it outside of the classroom itself. But I think with some of the ateliers as well, you can do like shorter courses and that kind of thing. So I don't think you have to be either or, if that makes sense. But again, I've not gone to art school, so I cannot give you a full breakdown of my thoughts based on experience. I always wonder how much I should blend in skin tones, really smooth or being able to see the brushwork like Sargent. I think a combination of both, right? I like hard edges mixed in with soft edges. Right? And they can come in later when we start doing like these highlights and really understanding the form and not blending the living crap out of everything. That's why this blend tool, it's a very, very, the smudge tool is great, but it's a dangerous one because you can make it look very, very airbrushy very quickly. So what I'd recommend is getting familiar with where to place the values without blending in the first place, you know? Knowing why the values are meant to be there. And then you can decide the style or the look and feel that you're going for if you really want to blend it out. Again, you get sick of me saying it. It depends. It really depends on what the style calls for. All right, let's start chipping in some of these, the clothing. Right, so I want it to feel rounded first. Get those values in there. I'm not going full value, I'm not going full on. I'm just getting the logic, let's say, of what we've started with. Now, so like sometimes I might like to do the whole thing as like just a first pass, you know, and then really like nail in that this is going to have shadow here, and then this whole leg is going to have like a core shadow, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? You might want to do that as well. But I'm just kind of this is free form. If I could, I would spend $1,000 to do the course with you, Rem, Rodgon, and Phil Tomato. Phil Tomato, that rings a bell. Remby and I have been talking about doing something together as well, which would be a good bit of fun, I reckon. But yeah, from the figure drawing side of things, at the very least, I think he's going to be hopping in some of those streams, which will be good. How do you decide what lines to keep from your sketch and which cover when rendering? At the moment, it's more of a feel thing. But sometimes you could utilize the lines to give you the occlusion shadows. Right, so let's say that I added a bit of that lid in there. I might want to keep that more of as a like a line, you know? So it can be the lines can be used as a tool for more of that occlusion shadow kind of stuff. And again, it comes down to the style that you're after. Your style that you're trying to do you might not want any line work in it at all. Vivid, I forced myself to not use any blending tool for an entire year. You're a mad person. To get myself out of bad habits. Good. That's fantastic. Now I find myself not even wanting to use a blend tool. Good job. That's what I'm talking about. It gives you freedom, right? Ben doesn't do a ton of finding the line pass as it seems. You're more G in nature. More G in nature. Bone Brew, I'm not sure what G in nature means. One question, Ben. How do you jump from values to colors? I remember seeing your last post process, which I truly love, by the way. Thank you. And I wondered how it helped you build colors into your figure. So the process that one of the processes that I share is that black and white to color process, right? It is a means to an end. I could have started this straight up in color, because really everything comes down to values. Whether you're starting in color or you're doing a different process where you come on top of here, you whack a multiply layer mode, and then you start whacking in some color, you know? If my values were not sitting right, this would not work, you know? Doesn't matter how much color variation I put, you know, it would not hold up, right? So I would focus, if you are thinking about jumping from values to color, start off with local colors first, just like I did sort of there, like with the peach color of the skin. And know that when I do that process, I end up merging everything down and painting on top anyway. It's really just a speed thing to get me to a place quickly. And then it comes down to the fundamentals of understanding light and how different properties of different materials react to the light and how the color shifts and that kind of thing. So hopefully that makes sense. It is easier to start in grayscale because you don't have to think about color theory at the same time as value control. It's like just juggling too many things before you can juggle two. Yeah, but again, sometimes I do like to just jump straight into color. You get a different feeling with that. Can sometimes get a different result, but it all does really come down to how are your values. Because without the values, there is no amount of color that's going to save you. Red Banjo, no worries. So let's use that little trick of knocking it right the way down. Multiply. Let's see if we can get this side of the head going back in space. Just a little bit, right? It sort of feels a bit more rounded because there was a lighter, this glow in here, which didn't make any sense. Haha, Tiffany, mate. Yeah, that's great. That's a great way of putting it. Color gets all the credit for Value's hard work. 1,000,000% vivid. What's the white toolbar? This is the Hage stylus that I'll use sometimes for smooth. It's like a system-wide smoothing tool. So if I wanted to start blocking in some of these values using the plugin, this just smooths out the lasso tool. That allows me to do really, really smooth lines. I've got to do more of it. You know what I have to do? I've got to do like a little tutorial on how to use the Filthy plugin. We made the thing. And then I was like, good luck, have fun. So yeah, I should really make something for it. Dumb Guy Codes, how you doing? Welcome. Great to have you. Gradient across the body. How big a light source are you envisioning? Well, with this gradient, it would imply, so this is where it, like, realism and stylization do not equal one another sometimes. The big gradient would imply a point light that has fall off. So, I don't know. really, because I'm doing a bit of both. I've got that like harsh shadow on her face, which is creating contrast and going to sort of be drawing the eye. But then this is more of a tool to draw the eye upwards, less so of a physically accurate phenomena that you would get from, say, like the moonlight, if that makes sense. Do you still do studies like that where you are shooting for more heavily for a grounded light? Yeah. So it would be like more realistic. Yeah. Because you gotta understand and study the real stuff. So then you can make stylistic choices by choice instead of by accident. If that makes sense. Struggling to find what I would like to do in life to earn. A struggle we all have, my friend. That's the thing, when someone asks, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I'm like, I don't know. Not a clue. Whatever it is, I hope I'm enjoying it. The folder of photos I opened up have a bunch of foreshortened poses. I'm sitting here intently screaming like I made a mistake. No, I would recommend lean into that. Lean into that, because that is that's like a weakness at the moment, right? It's something that like it stresses you out because you can't quite grasp necessarily how to instantly make sense of that. Lean into that. That's what I'd recommend. I guarantee you're not ready, but that's the time to do it. I feel like that, particularly because I've been doing more traditional. It's I feel like that all the time. I'm like, oh geez, how am I gonna handle this weird foreshortened thing? But then you break it down, and you're like, all right, cool, glad I did it, because sometimes they turn out great. Thomas Diodati. Ben, I want to thank you for recommending The War of Art in one of your old videos. It helped me a lot. Also, I love your style so much, it makes me want to draw constantly. Ah, bloody legend. Thanks, man. Yeah, that's a fantastic book, The War of Art. Very, very good. I highly, highly recommend it. You don't have a Patreon up, do you, Ben? Just a Procreate course and the upcoming Grey Matter course. That's correct, yeah. But there also is an upcoming, yeah, so the Grey Matter course, well, it's a workshop, right? So it's me live for 5 weeks, but I'm also working on that on demand, learn at your own pace course. All about this sort of stuff. It's the one from Stephen Pressfield, 100%. Yep, that's the one. I appreciate you, Bone Brew. I love that it has a chapter called For the Love of the Game. Yep. Nah, it's a good one. I got to reread it, actually. Good reminder. It's one of those ones where I'll read it periodically. The new art is in town. How you doing? Audiobook or music when you draw, or silence? Yes. Everything. All of the above. Depends what I'm feeling. Sometimes I'll have music. Recently I've been mainly doing music. You don't keep a ton of your line work near your focal point. Yeah, but I'm not finished yet. So I could also bring it back in after as well. That's an option. I think we can clean up this hair just a little bit. Nice. one of those things you think about later, and is one of those stylistic choices you have to make. How much are you trying to limit or expand the choices you're making? I'm honestly not thinking about it too much while I'm going. You know, like a lot of it is building up, and this is where, right? If you are wanting to have a real clear, because as I said, this is one of my like stream paintings, right? So I'm not thinking about it too much right now, but this is where style reference comes in very, very handy, because a lot of that can then be answered. It's like, all right, if I know that on one of my style references, or just like as a general feel for all my style references, that there's a lot of line work in the final piece, then I might take that into account a little bit earlier. But at least for me at this point in time, I find that I will come back through and refine stuff, because I like that kind of hybrid between like the rendered slash line work kind of look. So I'm experimenting at the moment. I'm seeing how much I want of it to be like rendered and painterly versus not, right? Hamoud, thank you very much. What canvas size do you normally use for drawing multiple characters and individual ones like this one? This one is 4,000 by 4,000. As large as you can get away with. It just saves you any headaches later on, depending on what your machine can handle. And as long as your brushes don't start slowing down, you know. Question, how are you comfortable with flipping the canvas but not the reference? I've tried it but feel mind boggled after a while. Because I'm not relying too much on the reference, right? That's probably the big thing. Because I've made decisions, all of these shapes are kind of my own now. All of this lighting is my own. I'm not copying the lighting from here. Right? So I'm really, when I'm flipping, I'm not even looking at the reference. I mean, I could close the reference right now and I'd be fine. You know, so that's because we're doing this kind of stylization. We're inventing our shapes more so. It's not really a consideration as to matching it with the reference. If you want to get over that, you can just pull the reference in. You can just pull the reference in if it... Oh, come back. You know what I'm saying. Copy the image. Whack them in there. Get it to the same side. And then flip it. And then you've got it there for you. That's a little workaround. Okay, I'm going to try left photo with less shop. Best of luck to you. Yeah, I think one thing I've come across lately is that a bunch of artists I follow have been giving me the same advice. Your process will determine a ton. It truly will. It really will. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, bone brew. It's going to be your style, how you interpret things. You know. Did you get a chance to meet Scott Flanders while you were there in the States? No, I didn't. I have met him online though. I wish I could rely less on my line work to explain form. I know I use it as a way to hide my value problems in some places. You and me both, my friend. But it's good that you've identified that at the same time, you know? I would love to see you take a crack at some silhouette stuff like that. That is something I actually have on my to-dos, is to do more silhouette based work. Study, I guess you could say. And then we can always do, oh man, I've got it on the wrong layer. That's fine. That's all right. Don't worry about it. And we can always do the cheeky little rim light. But again, the rim light is a tool to help separate things. Too much. Let's knock it back. Do want to do a tiny little bit on this side as well, maybe. All right, look, I reckon we've gone okay. Not bad for a stream. How far we've been able to go. No, that looks distracting. How do you determine when it is right when you're stylizing something? Are you just relying on your core understanding of fundamentals or comparing it to something in your mind? With that, with a lot of practice, it is more of a feeling. Because the decisions that I've made here 3 years ago, I wouldn't have made the same decisions. So it really does come down to a lot of the study and some of the shape explorations that I have done. And when it is all said and done and I've rendered the crap out of it, there's some parts that I'm like, I don't really like it that much, you know? So then I'll come back through and adjust the shapes. See if there's room for pushing and pulling. No worries, Bone Brew. All right. Before I do head off, got to do the plugs. You know what I'm talking about? But I've changed the view. If you like this kind of stuff and you want to join us, I think we're already about half, not half, we may be by now. Last time I checked, we're a third of the way full. But we've got the Grey Matter January workshop. I'll be walking you through live. Oh no. Okay, and we're back. All right, links in the description. 10% off until December 31st. If you do want to join the workshop, gonna have a bunch of fun, learning all the principles, everything. I'm laying it all down. You get feedback personal from me, group critiques, join the private Discord. Right? You know the drill. You can check it out. Links in the description. I don't need to keep hammering it. I'd love to have you in there. And this is fun. Good bit of fun. Having to play around with values. Let's just go back quickly. Of course, Vivid. Thank you for popping in. So let's see where we started and where we ended up. Yeah, look at that. Gave that kind of look. All right, so we fixed that. And then what else did we do? We had, so this is where we start. That was the start, right? That was a quick little sketch that I did. And that's where we ended up. We took a quick little detour into exploration land. So if we just duplicate this, whack the brightness up. Right? This I have so much fun with. Understanding all the shapes. Right, bit of anatomy stuff. Bit of form, figure, gesture. What else? Yeah, that was about it, I reckon. Yeah, we had then we went over it. Just to see what else we could explore and discover. But yeah, look, with that, I think I'll call it a day. Thank you very much, as always, for popping into these streams. They're an absolute pleasure for me to do. Great start to my week. Hopefully it's the same for you. For those that are in chat, as always, you're bloody legends. And for those that aren't in chat, you're lurkers. I appreciate you just as much, because that is who I am as well, in reality. So, I will catch you in the next one. Keep an eye out for, the workshop. If you want to grab my Gumroad stuff, it's also in the link in the description. The Filthy plugin, links in the description. You're smart people. You know where to find stuff. You know where to find me, right? So, yeah. Same time next week. Sound good? And yeah, when I start thinking about doing the figure drawing specific stream, I'll let you know. Nothing planned just yet. As well as the challenge. I want to do more challenges as well. So I did have that idea of the animal to character design challenge, which I reckon could be a bit of fun. Catch you later. Are you Anurag, Thomas, your legend, Vivid, Bone Brew? Thank you, everyone. And I shall catch you in the next one. Bye-bye. Christian, appreciate you. I'll be talking to you shortly.